If you love someone, you tell them.
November 9th, 1972, San Francisco. A little boy was born who would decades later make a nation's collective heart skip a beat just by walking out of a bathroom in a towel. But that comes later. First, there was just Eric, a kid navigating loss early. When he was 7 years old, his father died. That's not something you get over. That's something that becomes part of your DNA, part of how you see the world, part of what makes you fight. And fight he did. He moved through the 90s, booking small roles here and there. The Wonder Years, Roseanne, little bits in bigger things. The kind of grind that breaks most people. You know what I'm talking about, the auditions that say no more than they say yes. The callbacks that don't call back. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're not enough. He kept going anyway. By 2003, something shifted. He landed Jason Dean on Charmed. Finally, a real role, a character people would recognize. And he owned it. There was something about the way he inhabited that character. Confident, dangerous, sexy. But there was always something more going on beneath the surface. People noticed. They started whispering his name in casting rooms and around water coolers. This guy's going places, they said. But even he probably didn't know what was coming. ABC's Grey's Anatomy was already a phenomenon. The show, every country, every demographic, a juggernaut. And Eric got a guest spot. His character? Dr. Mark Sloan. And there's this scene, the moment that would change his entire life. His character walks out of a bathroom, soaking wet. Nothing but a strategically placed towel between him and absolute television immortality. It was a water cooler moment, they called it. But it was more than that. It was the moment within days. Fan mail exploded. Within weeks, he went from guest star to series regular. The network saw what audiences saw. Magic. And the audience? They gave him a nickname, McSteamy. Now Eric had complicated feelings about that name. In fact, he said, and I love this, that it might be the third time he'd said his own nickname out loud. He felt a little uncomfortable being reduced to it, you know? But the beautiful thing is, he didn't let that define him. He acknowledged the feeling, accepted the love behind it, and moved forward as an actor. That's maturity. He played Dr. Mark Sloan for 7 seasons, 145 episodes. The character became iconic. Iconic. Seattle Grace Hospital became Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital, literally renamed because of him. That's the mark you leave when you're that good. But here's what people forget. Behind McSteamy there was a real actor, a brilliant actor, someone who brought depth, humor, humanity to every scene. His colleagues knew it. Patrick Dempsey, who worked opposite him for years, called him the funniest man. He was such a joy to work with. That's what everyone says. That's what they keep saying. The joy, the humor, the way he could floor you with a joke delivered with perfect comedic timing. In 2012, his character got written off. Plane crash, complicated death. But he'd already left an indelible mark. Even now, years later, Grey's Anatomy fans still talk about him. But Eric wasn't interested in being McSteamy forever. He couldn't be, so he took risks. He did The Last Ship, he appeared in films, he stretched, he evolved. And then in 2019, something really interesting happened. HBO offered him a role in Euphoria. Cal Jacobs, the father. Not charming, not simple. Complicated, troubled. A man living a secret life, struggling with his sexuality, his marriage, his identity, all while trying to navigate his relationship with his son in the most complicated way possible. It was as far from McSteamy as you could possibly get. And Eric chose that. He walked away from the safe choice, the comfortable archetype, and he dove headfirst into this messy, complicated, fully realized character. For 5 seasons, he brought nuance and humanity to a role that could have been one-dimensional in the wrong hands. That tells you everything you need to know about him as an actor. He wasn't interested in being a pretty face. He wanted to challenge himself, to grow, to prove he was more. And he was. So much more. But let's talk about the man behind the characters, because that's where the real beauty lives. He married Rebecca Gayheart in 2004. Rebecca, an actress, a beautiful soul, and they had 2 daughters, Billy Beatrice, Georgia Geraldine. They became, by his own account, the center of his entire world. Their relationship was complicated, it was real, they separated, filed for divorce, but then they chose each other anyway, not romantically, but familiarly, as family. That's something deeper than a lot of marriages. Rebecca talked about this beautifully. She said their love wasn't romantic, but it was real. It was familial, and most importantly, when Eric got sick, when he needed her most, she showed up. She didn't disappear. She was there. Their daughters were there. Always. In his final days, surrounded by dear friends, his devoted wife and those two girls he loved more than his own heartbeat, that's how he wanted to go. That matters. That says everything. April 2025. Less than a year ago from now, Eric made a statement to People magazine. ALS. Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis. Lou Gehrig's disease. The same disease that took one of baseball's greatest heroes. A disease that gradually, mercilessly takes away your ability to move, to speak, to eat, to breathe. There's no cure. Most people, when they get that diagnosis, they disappear, they retreat, they suffer in silence. Eric didn't. He said, "I have been an open book about certain things in my life. This is something I felt compelled to share with people." He talked about not worrying what people would think. "I don't really have a dog in the fight," he said. His only question was, how can I help? How can I be of service? And then he said something that it breaks your heart and lifts it up at the same time. Not to be overly morbid, but if I'm going out, I'm going to go out helping somebody. He knew what was coming, and instead of despair, he chose purpose. From April to February, 9 months. And in those 9 months, Eric became the public face of ALS. He became an advocate. He went to Washington, D.C. with a nonprofit I Am ALS. He advocated for research, for funding, for a cure. In September, he set a goal, raise $1 billion for ALS research. $1 billion. That's not a man who gave up. That's a man who fought. That's a man who said, "I'm going to take this disease that's taking everything from me, and I'm going to turn it into something that helps others." While his body was failing him, while he was losing his voice, while he was losing his mobility, he kept acting. He filmed Euphoria. He appeared in Countdown on Amazon Prime. In November, he guest starred on Brilliant Minds, playing a firefighter living with ALS, and critics say he gave one of the best performances of his entire career. One of his entire career. Can you imagine? Can you imagine playing a scene about something you're actually living through, at the same time your body is betraying you, with grace and perfection? That's not acting. That's alchemy. That's something sacred. And then came February 19th, 2026. His family released a statement. "With heavy hearts, we share that Eric Dane passed on Thursday afternoon following a courageous battle with ALS. He spent his final days surrounded by dear friends, his devoted wife, and his two beautiful daughters, Billy and Georgia, who were the center of his world." Center of his world. But there's more. There's something that just came out today, his final interview. Netflix has a series called Famous Last Words, where they air posthumous interviews with cultural icons. Eric did one. And in that interview, he speaks directly to his daughters. His final words to Billy and Georgia. Listen to this. He tells them, "These words are for you. I tried. I stumbled sometimes, but I tried. Overall, we had a blast, didn't we? First, live now, right now, in the present. It's hard, but I learned to do that." He's talking to his teenage daughters about presence, about how, when you're facing something like ALS, you learn that every moment is sacred. You can't waste a second on worry about tomorrow. You have to be here, right now. Second, fall in love. Not necessarily with a person, he says, although he recommends that too. Fall in love with something. Find your passion, your joy, your purpose. He talks about falling in love with acting when he was their age. And he says, "That love eventually got me through my darkest hours, my darkest days, my darkest year. I still love my work. I still look forward to it. I still want to get in front of a camera and play my part." Even as he was dying, even as his body was breaking down, he still loved his work. Third, choose your friends wisely. That's it. Simple but profound. Build your life around people who matter. And fourth, fight with every ounce of your being and with dignity. Fight, but with dignity. That's the whole thing right there. That's Eric Dane's entire legacy wrapped up in one sentence. And here's the thing. He left us more than those lessons. Look at what happened when he died. Patrick Dempsey, who played Derek Shepherd opposite his Mark Sloan for all those years, got on the radio and talked about how Eric was the funniest man, how he was such a joy to work with, how any time he was on set, he brought so much fun to it. Shonda Rhimes, the creator of Grey's Anatomy, said he was a beloved member of the Shondaland and Grey's Anatomy families. She said his portrayal left an indelible mark on the series and on audiences around the world. I'm heartbroken by the loss of our dear friend Eric. Working with him was an honor. Being his friend was a gift. Alyssa Milano, who worked with him on Charmed, remembered his razor-sharp sense of humor. She wrote about how his voice changed when he said their names, when he talked about Rebecca and his girls. You could see it in the way his voice changed. A breathtakingly beautiful family. Kim Raver said simply, Eric was a light. You'd see it effortlessly shine from him on the set of Grey's, as well as when he was with Rebecca and the girls. During filming, he'd get this twinkle in his eye, and with a mischievous look, he would deliver with perfect comedic timing, a line of dialogue that would floor you. That's the testimony that matters. That's what people who knew him, who worked with him, who loved him, that's what they're saying. He was light, he was joy. He was good, but beyond the entertainment world, he also became a beacon for people living with ALS. I Am Alice said they were heartbroken by his death, but they also said, Eric used his platform not for attention but for action. He was a fierce advocate, a generous spirit, and a true champion in the movement to end ALS. He spent less than a year publicly fighting this disease, and he changed the conversation around it. He made people care. He showed people that you don't have to disappear when you're sick. You don't have to be ashamed. You can keep working, keep fighting, keep living. He went to Washington and advocated for research funding. He partnered with nonprofits. He set billion-dollar goals. A man who was dying spent his final months trying to help people who would come after him. That's legacy. That's immortality. So we lost a spark yesterday. That's true. But here's what I know. Sparks don't just disappear. They catch fire. His daughters, Billy and Georgia, they know what it looks like to fight with dignity. They know what it looks like to love fiercely. They know what it looks like to show up for family no matter what. They're going to carry that forward. Everyone who watched him work on Grey's or Euphoria or Charmed, every actor who got inspired by his fearlessness, his range, his willingness to take risks, they're carrying his spark forward. Everyone fighting ALS right now knows that they're not alone, because Eric showed them that there's no shame in this fight. There's no need to disappear. You can look it in the face and say, I'm going to help others. I'm going to make a difference. He lived only 53 years. That's not long. It feels like a theft, honestly. Like the universe took someone who had so much more to give, but in those 53 years he loved completely. He worked fearlessly. He advocated tirelessly. He faced the darkness with grace. And he told his daughters, and by extension all of us, 4 things. Live now. Fall in love. Choose your friends wisely. Fight with dignity. If we all did those 4 things, we'd be living in his honor. The spark hasn't gone out, you see. It's just moved into all of us who loved him. All of us who were touched by his work, his kindness, his humor, his humanity. Eric Dane, McSteamy, Cal Jacobs, devoted father, passionate advocate, light bringer, thank you. Thank you for the joy. Thank you for the fight. Thank you for showing us what grace under pressure looks like. Your final days were surrounded by love. Your legacy will be surrounded by light, and that's how we'll remember you. This tribute is dedicated to Eric Dane, his wife Rebecca Gayhart, his daughters Billy and Georgia, and everyone fighting ALS. May we honor his memory by living with intention, fighting with dignity, and never giving up on those we love.